Welcome to Internet City Live, where we are going to be uncovering the world and the truth about why I think trucking is the heartland and the soul of the world. Today, I have a guest on the show. I will not be naming him because he asked me to not give out his name. Out of respect for him, I won't do this. But I'm going to be asking him a series of questions, and he's going to be answering them. First question is, how did COVID-19 affect the trucking industry?
Well, I don't know about affecting, but it made us super, super busy. We didn't stop. They took all the restrictions away. What I mean by restrictions is because we're only allowed to drive so many hours a day. So they took that away and basically allow us to drive as much as our body could handle to get the product delivered to where it needed to deliver, because it was needed worldwide, you know, different products. And we all know that it was toilet paper, Lysol, and all those type of chemicals to try to keep the areas clean for the COVID.
So how do you think America as a whole or the world takes that job for granted? Because I feel like the American people, sometimes even me, I take it for granted that we have these things like water or like even the houses that we live in or the cars that we drive, you know? That's all delivered by truckers, right? There's a certain degree to where we have to understand that truckers are the heart and soul of America. Not even just America, the whole world. So what's your opinion on that topic?
Well, my honest opinion is the reason that we have no respect and no value is because basically we're told that we're not important by TV, by social media. They're the ones that control your mindset of what's important. You know, for some people is buying fancy clothes, buying fancy cars, living a life of lies because society wants you to believe that that's more important. And it's sad, but it is what it is. So to answer your question as best as I can is because on TV, social media, the internet, and everything that you use for social media, they tell you what you want to hear. And they're never going to tell you, oh, the trucker is very important because without the trucker, we don't get this, we don't get that. I mean, it doesn't matter what we deliver from the smallest item to the biggest. And I can give you an example. Let's say somebody has a hole in the roof and we need to deliver lumber, wood, drywall, whatever they need to fix the leak on the roof because it's nonstop raining and it's messing up the house. That's a big delivery, but let's say something small, right? Like, let's say even a pencil or notebook pad. Pencils and pens are very, very, very important in schools or education programs. So my point is, it doesn't matter how small the item is or how big a trucker, or not necessarily a trucker, but different ways of transportation, if it's in a boat, truck, airplane, we are very valuable for the future of the next generation and education when it comes to a simple delivery of a pencil or a pen or paper or notebook pad. That's how important a trucker is. But yet society on TV and social media, they tell you that wearing certain clothes or looking a certain way is more important. Why is that? Because who controls social media? We know who controls the social media.
Right. The government.
So the government is the one that, my opinion, is the reason why we truckers get no love, no respect, and we're undervalued. And I believe that we're more important than a teacher. Because like you said, teachers can not teach anything else that a parent cannot teach. Or a trucker can teach, because a trucker could be a parent. You know, I know how to ABC. I know 1 through 100 or whatever, multiply, divide. I know everything they teach in school.
Right.
So I can teach my kid everything. So I think I could be more valuable than a teacher. I mean, I can be trucking, have my kid with me in the truck, and be teaching better than the teachers, because they got like 40, 30 students per class, and I only have one child or two child, and I'll be educating them much better, in my opinion.
Right. That's a very good way of answering the question. My next question is, over the years, with your 20 years of experience in the trucking industry, you successfully made a successful business hauling cars. And I wanted to get your inside view into the trucking industry on
If the business
the
is successful.
difference throughout the years and the evolution of how the trucking industry transformed throughout the years from when you first started to now that you're still in it. How over the years has it treated you, and how have you seen the changes affect you?
Well, I think the changes over time affects us, in general, everybody, right? Because the inflation, everything goes up. For me, what affects me is the diesel prices, right? The insurance prices, the maintenance of the trucks, whatever it might be, if it's oil, tires, brakes, whatever parts that I purchased from the dealer. Obviously, 20 years ago, it was a lot cheaper. Everything was cheaper. And now everything is more expensive. So the beginning was a lot, I mean, the beginning was cheaper than the end. But that's, to me, that affects everybody, not just the truckers. And if you're looking at it as a business, to start a business, it's worth it. Yeah, it's worth it because you make a lot of money. But in the beginning, it was a lot easier. It was a lot easier because everything was cheaper. That's the only thing that's changed is the price. So let's say, for example, I moved a car from California to Florida and I charged $2,000. Now you can only charge $1,000. Half I was used to make in 20 years ago to now. So that's the difference between back then and now. It's harder to make the same money that you used to make 20 years ago. It's harder, but you still can make it. It's just harder because the prices, inflation went up.
What about any policy changes? Has there been any policy changes in the past, future, or present that is going to be affecting the trucking industry?
Well, yeah, policies always, every year they make policies. You know, I mean, you always have to pay something new. If it's permits, if it's, back then there was no electronic logbooks. You know, back then it was just paper. People don't know what that is. It's basically like a clocking sheet, right? You go to a job and you clock in and you clock out. And that's what a e-log is. So back then it wasn't electronic, it was just paper, so it was just a lot easier for me, simple. And now you need to get,
Like a notebook?
yeah, then you have to get a notebook or use your phone to clock in and out now. Everything's electronically. So when that happened, there was a lot of people disputing that. There was a lot of attention, and truckers, including myself, I didn't want that to happen because I feel that that was under my constitution. How is constitution?
Constitution.
That they can track me where I'm at all times. So if you make me feel like I was a criminal, so people that were not criminals are getting tracked. So the police always know where you're at because of this device. So there was a lot of conflict. We fought it for a lot of years. Then the other thing that took place a couple years ago was the filters. Filters, especially in California, it was really bad. A lot of old trucks started just getting dismantled, or people had to sell and get new trucks because of this law. There's a lot of laws that always come out. If it's not every year, it's every other year, but there's something always that affects the transportation industry, not just the truckers, everybody, airplanes, buses, trains. There's always something, the licenses go up, the registrations go up, insurance goes up. So that every other year, it definitely affects.
So,
Let's talk about how important trucking is in the world with the food and all those kinds of things.
so let's talk about that.
What's very important, because if the the truckers don't deliver the foods to the restaurants or to the grocery stores, then basically everybody starves. It's not like the caveman days where you go and hunt and kill your prey and then you eat. Nowadays, everybody's so used to getting everything at the grocery stores or going to a restaurant and you pay and you get your food. So now just imagine if the truckers or any transportation matter, for that matter, don't do their job right or on time. So now just imagine you go to a restaurant and you try to order a meal, we don't have no food to give. Or you go to the grocery store and all the shelves in the meat department empty. How many people are gonna starve? Or, a war can break out because they'll be fighting for crumbs. That's why, to me, a trucker is very, very important. And I know for a fact that it's the heart and soul of the whole world. Because without transportation, even if you own horses or a donkey, you use those animals, or a camel, depends where you live, to transport things that are 10, 20 times more their weight. So a trucker, an airplane, a bus, all that is needed. It's been like that for years. Even before the truckers didn't exist, there was animals, right? There's animals that can literally move some things or stuff that is 5, 10 times what they weigh. So it's been proven for whatever years, hundreds, thousands of years ago, that transportation, which was animals, and then there was, we created the trucks and the airplanes, the buses, etc., the trains that can move, right, tons and tons of product, whatever it might be, from one place to another for easy distribution. Exactly. So people can be more comfortable and be at ease to go buy somewhere close, right, within a mile, 2 miles, whatever. So to me, I can go on and on all night and give you different, examples how valuable a trucker or transportation in general, it's very important. More important to me than any other job. Obviously, that is not politics, but I like the president, et cetera, et cetera.
How does import and exports work?
What, as far as my knowledge is basically when I go pick up a vehicle from the shipping yard or that comes in on a train, they either come in or go out on a ship or on a airplane. So it's very important because if you're talking about cars, say the manufacturer is in the other side of the world, like in China or Italy, and it needs to get to the States, right, to the United States, then the only way they can get from that point to this point is to the airport, an airplane, or a boat.
So that's all the products, right?
That's all the products. Most of the products that we have come from where? China? Mexico. Taiwan.
Vietnam.
So most of the products come in a train or in a boat. Export, import. It's very important. So when they close the borders or people wherever you're at, if it's Canada, Mexico, China, and they go and these crazy disputes and they close down the borders, it hurts everybody. But then when they open, who's rushing everything to where they need to be? Transportation, truckers, train drivers, airplane drivers, the boat drivers. They're the ones that get the biggest hit, right? Because they have to stress and be concerned for other families to get their products done. I'm one of those. I have lost my wife and my kids because I'm always on the road trying to do my job as best as I can because I worry about all the families, not just my family, because I'm not a selfish person. So I know that what I do for a living helps millions of people.
So when the COVID hit, and how was the transportation then?
Well, we got extra busy because people still needed their product delivered, and we're talking about vehicles.
Well, we started off the show with that. I wanted to ask you, what's your idea on the new people in the industry coming into trucking?
Like, in what way? Like starting the business or just working or what?
Just as a worker, just what's your opinion on the new guys coming up in this industry? Like, how do you think that's going to affect the longevity of trucking and all these new young people, right? These charged up people that are new to driving. Maybe it's their first year of trucking and, they don't understand the weight of the truck or how to deal with people in traffic.
Well, if they don't understand those basic concepts, then they got trained by the wrong trainer, or the company they work for didn't take the patience to train them right, because those are the most important components, is keeping your composure. Because if you get stressed out in traffic or when things go bad with your engine, tire, etc., then you're gonna get stressed out. You know what I mean? So it's very, very important to not get stressed out about those certain things. And also, truck is not for everybody. You gotta be a strong person to deal with all the adversity, which, like I mentioned before, staying away from your family can cause you a divorce. It can cause your spouse to cheat. It can cause your kids to neglect you because you're always on the road and you miss a lot of important things. So nowadays, what I see on the road is a lot of young kids you know, and women, and they don't last. You know, they only do it for a little bit, or and then they quit because being on the road is stressful. It's stressful not knowing what's going on at home. So a lot of people, their bodies are somewhere else and their mind is somewhere else because they're just not built like to deal with that kind of emotions and stress. So that's why in my 20 years of experience, I've seen so many young kids, it don't matter, even older people, that just don't have the heart and the grind to do this job. It takes a special kind of person to do this.
So let's elaborate on this video a little bit.
Well, I think there.
How do you think the policy change that the government forced on truckers between Canada and America affected trucking in the whole? What's your opinion on this topic during COVID?
Well, I think it affected everybody because, like I said, when they shut down the borders, nothing gets moved to where it needs to be at. So everybody suffers, no matter what side of the border you stay, if it's Canada, United States, and Mexico, China, Russia, wherever, everybody gets affected, you know, and then it creates chaos and stress and problems. And it's funny because I believe that the transportation companies, truckers, trains, airplanes, buses, etc., they're the ones that take care of all these problems for everybody, you know. So they should be more aware to be nice to truckers, to airplane drivers, to bus drivers, because we deliver all the products and all the clothes and all the medicine, etc., as fast as possible and to all the locations for everybody to have and get with ease.
So without the truckers, there would be nothing on the shelves, right?
Basically, because I mean, the persons or the company that produce this stuff, they're gonna put it on pallets or whatever containers, and from there they're gonna wait for a trucker to come and pick it up and deliver it to wherever they need it. So yeah, without the transportation company, they're not gonna get nowhere.
So what happens to the humans, or what happens to the people?
When the products don't get delivered, well, they basically get stressed out. They get mad, they get sad, they could die. Depends what is it that they're waiting on. You know, when you got a sick person that needs chemotherapy, for example, they got to do treatments, you know, every day or every other day. Or they got, you know, anything that's very deadly disease or something going on where they need special medicine delivered at a specific time, at a specific date, and they don't get there because the truckers got stopped or whatever on the border, then it creates chaos and people die.
So that's like 24/7, 7 days a week, right?
Yes, sir. That's all the time.
Non-stop, right?
Non-stop. Non-stop.
So the roads could be very dangerous out there, right? With accidents and all kinds of stuff that could happen, just for us to get supplied with food and our necessities.
That's it. Even the wild animals can cause an accident, and that will stop a delay. You know, a deer running across the freeway, or antelope, or you know, cows or whatever. Even something simple like that. So yeah, it's very dangerous out in the world, especially in those freeways where those type of animals live, and they can jump across the freeways or the highways and cause an accident, and that causes a delay, and somebody can literally die.
Yeah. It's a very dangerous situation. I wanted to ask you about the police and what's your opinion on how they enforce the laws at DOT and the weigh stations and how we get tickets all the time for somewhat meaningless things that we have almost no control over. What's your opinion on the police and trucking, how they go hand in hand, or how they enforce truck drivers?
Well, I guess my personal opinion is 50% is good and 50% is bad. 50% is good because without rules and regulations, you know, like I mentioned before, we're only allowed to drive so many hours. So now imagine if you drove for 24 hours straight, eventually your body's gonna crash and you can fall asleep behind the wheel and kill yourself or kill a whole family or whatever. So in that department, I agree with we're only allowed to drive so many hours and then you gotta stop and rest. And that's a good thing. The bad thing is, like you said, there's certain things that you cannot avoid. For example, I've seen where a trucker has a inner tire blown out and you don't feel it, you don't see it. So a DOT can see that you're driving with a flat tire and then pulls you over and gives you a ticket instead of being understanding to that he knows that you can feel it and you don't see it. Why? Because there's 18 wheels. So if you have 18 wheels and one blows up, trust me, you're not gonna feel. So that's a bad thing. You get pulled over for a tire that it's blown out. And instead of, hey, can you, I don't know if you noticed, sir or ma'am, but you have a blown, did you know that? No, I did not, I'm sorry. Okay, we'll pull over and get it fixed. But no, they get a citation right away for not only having a blow tire, for throwing trash, you get cited. That's not right. That's a bad thing.
So you would say that's a good way of enforcing laws on truckers, is in keeping them accountable. What's your opinion on the piss jugs you see at every truck stop? What's your opinion on those guys?
Well, I think that's disgusting. You know, I think that there's restrooms for that, and if you have an emergency and you gotta go to the restroom in a bottle or whatever, then at least throw it in the dictionary area, right? Like the trash can. You know, because if you don't care about that, at least care about the world. So that's pretty disgusting in my opinion, you know. And I'm not gonna say I've never pissed in the cup or in the bottle, but I throw it in the trash can where it needs to go.
Right.
So all in all, how important is trucking for the world?
Well, and like I keep saying, in my opinion, is the most important thing. It's the heart and soul of the whole world. More important than any other job besides the government, like the presidency and the governor and stuff like that. Even the lawyers, I mean, to me, we're like kind of like the doctors, because if we don't deliver the medicine or the clothes or the food, people die. So I consider myself like a doctor. That's how important it is to me.
So how do you think the consumers can better understand truck drivers or better respect truck drivers and people in the transportation industry? Because everybody talks good about cops. Well, 50% or 60-40 talk good about cops and the way they enforce and all the things they do good for society, because I do believe that they do some good for society, like go into burning buildings and get kids out, or families or dogs, or put away rapists or mass murderers. And people talk good about firefighters, fighting fires and saving lives, right? So how do you think people can learn to have a deeper understanding and respect for the truck drivers that provide them with everyday necessity items that they use every day and they take for granted, like the food that we eat, or the water, or the toothbrush or toothpaste, or the car tire, or the car itself. How do you think the everyday consumer can understand and respect the truck driver?
Well, the best way I can answer that is, how do you learn something new? Is basically you get taught by teachers, programs, which is a TV, social media, movies, right? So it's simple. They're gonna make movies of the truckers being important. The news have to talk about the truckers, how important it is. Teachers have to tell the students how important the trucker is. Parents have to tell their kids how important. Just like the parents my mom used to tell me, oh, the police is very important because they keep the peace. The fire department and the firemen is very important because they put out all the fires. My teachers told me that. My parents told me that. My family told me that. Society told me that. If you pay attention to movies, TV shows, they're about doctors, fire, police, but they never have a show where a trucker is that important. So it's basically a society. You gotta teach it. If you don't teach it, then that's never gonna happen. It's that simple. So now that we're talking about this, what's going on right now is with this crazy the bird flu that's going on, right?
The World Health Organization has done an article about how the next COVID-19 pandemic is going to affect the whole world. How do you think this new COVID-19, this new pandemic, the N045984, whatever vaccine that they want to call it, or virus that they want to call it, name it, to confuse people. The bird flu is what they're comparing it to, evolution of bird flu. How do you think this is going to affect the trucking industry and the world?
Well, first, let me start out with my opinion. To me, COVID-19 was created for a purpose, to kill. That's obvious. So the second one is going to be the same thing. It's created to kill. That's my opinion. Let's start off with that. Now, to answer your question, it's simple. It's going to be worse than the first one. Why? Because we've already seen what happened with the first one. And all they gave us was, 1, 2, 3 shots, and yet people still died. So suppose you got one shot, and then not good. Second shot, people died. And then, so it didn't cover, so they did a third shot. And then some people died. So based on the first event, there was really nothing they could do to stop the spreading of the death. So this time, in my opinion, it's going to be worse, double or triple the amounts that died in the COVID.
So you were mentioning back in the COVID, and the truckers were working like crazy, but at the same time, all the stores and the shelves were empty. So how do we explain that if the truckers were working so much?
Well, I heard a story where this person went and bought almost $40,000 worth of product, the hot sellers, which we all know was the toilet paper, wipes, Lysol, all the disinfecting chemicals were invented, and then he was selling them in front of his house like a garage sale. and he was selling it for triple or 4 times the amount. So that's a good reason why there's a lot of shelves are not open or sorry empty, because one person went and got a bunch of product to make a profit. So that's why the stores, I don't remember that they started putting limits. They put limits on the waters and the toilet. I mean, whatever that people will go in there to get, which was, as far as I remember, was water, toilet paper, and other products like Lysol to disinfect everything, and the wipes. Those are the biggest ones. So to answer your question, like the story that I heard about this gentleman, he bought excessive amount and didn't care about our other families. Even maybe the store managers or the employees, they took a pallet for theirs. So it all comes to people being selfish. That's the best way I can answer that question.
Well, back in the day of the COVID, the freeways were empty, so nobody was really working. So the next one's coming. Is it going to be the same, worse? What's it going to be?
Well, the unemployment broke records. People are still not working. They're still hurting from the COVID. So yeah, I think it's gonna be worse. Definitely, it's gonna be worse all the way around.
So basically, that goes hand in hand with trucking, don't it?
Yeah, that's why truckers are always gonna have a job, because they always have to drive to deliver whatever product to wherever it needs to be.
So we take trucking. I don't know. We're unconsiderate about trucking. You know how I see it.
Well, yeah, like I said, it all leads to we gotta teach or make a movie, like I said, about how important the trucker is. Period.
I'm sure a lot of truckers feel, tired. 24/7, hardly getting no rest, delivering the products, consumption, day in and day out.
Yep, that's why I said that it takes a special kind of person, man or woman, to push themselves to the limits of lack of sleep, lack of eating, because you never eat really healthy in the road. There's not a lot of choices besides Subway, and Subway's not even healthy.
So you know a lot about Mexico. So do they do the trucking over there to deliver things like America does?
Yes, they do. And over there is worse because the freeways are all really, really bad. There's a lot of curves. There's a lot of potholes. The government doesn't keep up with the maintenance on the roads like United States. So definitely they do the same job, but in worse conditions. And not only Mexico, I mean, different parts of the world, even Africa or Philippines or China, whatever. China, it gets really bad. I don't know if you've seen the videos. There's like these crazy curves in the mountains, and truckers do these crazy maneuvers to get through that. I've seen some videos I'm very impressed how the Chinese truck drivers do these crazy turns. You should look it up on YouTube, and it's amazing. It's amazing how they do these crazy curves, and you're off by like half a foot, even a couple inches, then you fly off the mountain. So United States has it easy when it comes to moving from point A to point B on the highways and freeways compared to Mexico, China, and all these other locations in the world. So to answer your question, definitely Mexico is tougher.
So how does that work when they load up all the products in Mexico and bring it to America. How does that work?
Well, it works the same way as here. You know, if say a car, I think Ram is made in Mexico, so I know that all the parts for Ram is in Mexico, and they get shipped in a container, and you pick it up and you deliver it to where it needs to go. So it's the same concept like United States. You know, you wherever the company that fabricates the product, you pick it up, load it up, and you go deliver it where it needs to go.
So do they let them go through the border, or they gotta stop and show the paperwork and all that kind of stuff too?
Definitely gotta stop and show the paperwork. Yes, you always have to stop and show the paperwork. It's like a checkpoint that sometimes it could take hours to get to when is your next turn.
So they deliver like the food and that kind of stuff, or vegetables and stuff like that?
Yes, food, vegetables, drinks, all that. The export comes in or out. So the vegetables, if they're coming from wherever, say the north side of California into Mexico, then they come in, and then the products are made in Mexico, whatever that might be. If it's food or drinks, then they cross the border to deliver to where it needs to be. Definitely.
What kind of dangers do truckers face on an everyday basis?
In Mexico?
In America, all over.
I think the most dangerous thing in my experience is myself, because you gotta know when your body says you're tired, pull over and go to sleep. Some people that I know, they overwork and they get an accident. That's my personal opinion on what's the most worst one, you know. But there's other things that are bad too, like, you know, getting jacked. You know, they can steal your product and then you're in trouble with the company, right? Or you take a vehicle to a mechanic and they don't do their job right and you lose your brakes. I mean, I can go on and on and on the dangers. It's very dangerous in different aspects.
So, so we uncovered the world and talking about trucking. So all the truckers out there, what would you say to them about what our topic was today?
What would I say to truckers? If you don't have the heart and soul, then don't even bother doing it. And if you are a trucker, I respect you, I love you, and keep on trucking.
With that said, let's close the hour and let's be thankful that we have truckers around the world. And
Yes.
thank you so much for all your hard work.
Be safe and keep on trucking.
Until next time, on Internet City Live, uncovering the world.